perspective, do you care, especially in this generation with social media, do you care if your players watch the show, or would you rather that they not pay attention at all if they're going to see that?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, I want our guys focused, but we don't try to control every aspect of their lives. So if they want to watch it, great. I would hope that we stick to our consistency and our message and our focus. I will tell you this: I was, people are going to say I'm full of it right now, but I was in the office, and Kevin Threlkill was in my office. We got done watching film, and I was in my office, and I heard this like explosion of noise and screaming and yelling, and I didn't know what it was. And my office is right over the locker room. Well, then we figured it out. It was the managers that are down there washing clothes, washing the gear from practice, the clothes from practice, and they must have watched the show and started going berserk. I didn't even know. I'm not saying I didn't know the show was on, but I wasn't watching it and didn't know what happened at the time. But yeah, I mean, we don't. If the players watch it, great. That's fine. But again, we're focused on Minnesota and trying to find a way to be 1-0. And any energy we spend on other things takes away from it.
James, you mentioned Judge Culpepper a couple times in the past week. How's he come along in the second year? And considering who his father does that give him a head start in the process of maturation on the college campus?
I think we try to be careful with that, because I think sometimes when these guys are 5-star recruits or 4-star recruits, that puts an unrealistic expectation and pressure on these guys sometimes. I think sometimes who their parents are puts unrealistic pressure on these guys sometimes. He's a smart guy. He's a dependable guy. He's an accountable guy. He's hardworking. He's athletic. And he's gaining experience. He's going to need to play well Saturday. Obviously, being down a guy, he's going to need to play well for us. We think he will. We've been kind of gradually working him in. I think to your point, is he probably more advanced than most guys at that stage from a technique, from a fundamental, from a mentality standpoint? Yes. But besides that, I wouldn't say it put him that far ahead. But obviously, being able to talk football with your dad, being able to have some conversations and pick up some things that maybe you didn't even know you were picking up at the time, but you were. There's value in that. Yeah, mostly he's just an unbelievable kid. I mean, I think he was like a 4.0 student out of high school. Mom and dad are very driven, focused people. He's like beloved in Tampa and specifically at Plant High School, Judges. And he's just going to continue to work himself into a good player and have a nice career here. I don't think there's any doubt in that.
James, your red zone offense has been so effective that you've only attempted a couple field goals in the last 4 games. Do you have to do anything in practice to compensate for that, to make sure the kickers stay sharp?
No, I mean, it's not like if we kick a bunch of field goals in games, then we up it or lower it in practice. We don't really do that. I thought yesterday was great. We had the offense outside, the defense inside. It started to rain. I came in, all the kickers, punters, and snappers were over by the bikes doing whatever they do for most of practice. And I was like, what a great opportunity to get outside in the cold, in the rain. It was lightly raining, and work on your wet ball drills, snap, hold, kicks. I went out there with them. It was great work. But no, it's not like we up it or decrease it based on, unless you get obviously to an extreme. But no, we just kind of keep our routine.
You've had pretty good first quarter success the past 2 games offensively. After talking about how you might have ended up being a second half team earlier in the year, it seems like you've been able to get off to a better start. What do you think the key is there?
Well, I think the point you're getting to, I think that's going to be important Saturday. These guys are used to playing with a lead. They're used to being able to, get a lead, whether it's 7 or 14 points, and then be able to kind of eat the clock up and dominate the clock, and then get turnovers, which is a big part of their defense, which adds to, their time of possession as well. I think however it's worked out, whether we have had the ball or whether we've had our defense on the field, our defense is playing lights out in the first quarter. Our offense is playing really well too. But we've been able to really to have good field position from our defense and from special teams to put our offense in advantageous situations. We've been really good in red zone offense. So I think that goes back to the complementary football that we've talked about. The defense is setting up the offense, the special teams is setting up the offense. The offense is really setting up the defense, because even the drives that we haven't scored, we've moved the ball pretty well and been able to flip the field and been able to do those types of things. So I've been pleased with that.
James, your return game, you have a weapon like KJ back there, but in the Big Ten stats at least, you're not quite where you maybe thought you would have been. What do you have to do to kind of?
Well, I think if you look at overall efficiency, offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, special teams efficiency, I think we're one of the only teams in the country that are ranked in the top 10 in all three. So we're playing well. I think the other thing that I've noticed is, it's hard to tell this, but like as a punt returner, for example, we may not have the huge returns, but I think he's impacting the game. I think people are concerned about kicking it to him, so that's why they're directional kicking like crazy. There's a lot of shanks out of bounds, things like that. So we've gotten good field position. Same thing with kickoff return. Obviously, if we can eliminate some penalties, we'd be in a much different, rankings, because we'd have a kickoff return for a touchdown, which really the penalty didn't impact the play, and then the same thing on the punt return. Typically, people that are really good have one of those explosive plays to skew your stats. But overall, in efficiency, I think we're one of the few teams that are ranked in all three in the top 10 in the country.
Micah,
Go ahead.
Mike is still in your ear about getting a return.
Yeah, Mike is in my ear about 1,000 things. About 1,000.
Are there philosophical necessities you learn when you're the head coach of a small school versus a big school that stay with you throughout your career? That seems to be one thing from a lot of small school coaches that then go to a large program. It seems that there's more of that comes from those situations. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's some distinct advantages to both. If you are coaching at a big school like Penn State, you're able to gain a bunch of information because you're surrounded with a bunch of guys with tremendous experience and tremendous background. So all day you spend discussing and learning things because of the experience in the room. At the smaller schools, you don't have that, but you gain extreme value because you're forced to wear so many different hats. You don't have the same type of support. The GAs are literally coaching their own position because you don't have that many full-time coaches and things like that. So there's value of both. There's value of being Division II and the experience, and just as a head coach or as a position coach or as a coordinator, you have to wear so many different hats and take on so many different responsibilities. I'd also make the argument to all the search firms and ADs that are out there. I think it is hard to hire a coach from a big school and send them to a smaller school because they're used to having things, and you're not going to have them. Where I think the transition from a guy, like PJ transitioned from the MAC, to the Big Ten, all those extra things are bonuses. He's used to getting it done without. So I think that's one of the things that I think you have to be careful of. I've seen that mistake is guys get frustrated because they come down a level and they don't have the things that they're used to having. And it's a different world. I think it's easier to rise up than it is to drop back down.
James, we're going to get number 93 over there in a second after you. Was October Blake Gillikin's best
I
month?
don't know if you're talking about PJ. Isn't PJ Mustapher in the same number?
Didn't he change to 97?
He probably did.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I had PJ Mustapher in my mind, and then I turned, and
That was
Blake
not
Gillikin,
PJ.
that's not the image I was.
October, two-time Big Ten Special Teams Player of the week, and I mean, was it his best month that you've seen? Is he in his best stretch? And when you combine a punter who's kicking the ball like that, where he needs to get it, with a defense like this, how lethal of a combination?
Yeah, it's a deadly combination. There's no doubt about it. I'm happy for him because he's earned it. He's done everything right since he stepped on campus. He's been an unbelievable teammate. He's maximized his Penn State experience. Very mature. Been a great leader for us. We've asked him to do a lot of different things. So to see him have this success finally, he's earned it. So I'm really happy for him. I think your point, combination of him, what he's been able to do with our gunners and our snappers and our entire punt team with our defense, it's tough. When you're playing really good defense and you're having to go the long field all the time, that obviously plays in our favor a great deal. So yeah, I think he's playing really confident right now. I'd also make the argument I think he's going to be a better pro punter than he is a college punter because of the scheme. Pro can't run the spread. Their rules don't allow him to run the spread punt. I think if he can stand there and just do traditional punting and not have to worry about other things, I think he's probably as good as anybody in the country. But he's been fantastic for us. So I have a lot of respect for Blake and what he's done so far in his career. And I think you're just going to see what he's done over the last month. I think you're going to see it continue.